Hello everyone, with me here is a Kickjs project, and I want to show you this concept known as context decorators and how to use them. So this is a very simple concept, but it's very powerful, and you can use it to provide a more context to your application. It's like a pipeline in a very augmented way. So to get started, you'll need to you'll just come to your CLI, then just write kick g contributor. You'll create a contributor, let's call it contrib1. So it will create a folder for you known as contributors here. Then now you have your contrib1 contributor. Then it will tell you contrib1 context decorator, which is defaults to HTTP. So we have two types. One is HTTP and another is non-HTTP. So just to get help here, you can say -h to get the help. So if you want to generate, you can pass the type, which can either be HTTP or bear, and also where is the other one? Okay, then you can also pass params, which is fields. Then you say you give it details like this one. So let's try that. So let's try with the params, then give this one. So contrib2 params, pass that one. Then we can say hyphen type or t, let's say bear. So it has generated contrib2, and you can see this now is marked as bear. So you can see we are given some highlights on how to use it. Then you have the key, it has the key here. So this is how it's supposed to be set up, and you can see the contrib2 params. This is now one with parameters, and this one is one without parameters. They work more or less the same. So let me just take you through how this now works. So I might need to inject this. So how you use this, you just come to your controller here, and let's say this get, okay, under this get, because most of these frameworks you really don't have a way to create custom decorators, and Kickjs will give you a way to do this. So we just wrap here at contrib1, which was the HTTP version. So once you wrap it like that, we can come back to contrib1. Then once that is done, you can just come back to the browser here, localhost 3000 docs. I think it should be docs. Then if I come to this, I should get an error, probably. Execute. Yes, you can see we have internal server error. And where is this error generating from? It's emanating from contrib1, which is throwing this error here. All right. So let's say, for instance, one you might need to, this context, the context you're getting here is the context which now, it is the same context we have here. This context that is here is the same that with the one that is here. Alright, so what does this mean? If now I decorate this, I say contrib1, now inside here I can say, I can add a key, what I want it to look like. So let's say name will be string, the type of data structure that it should be able to return, then gender, let's say to unknown. Okay, so then you are expected to, this decorator is supposed to return this type that has been defined here. So meaning I can just remove this, then I return I should return name Alice, gender just something, so you can return anything. Alright, so what this does is, because we have our container registry, this will pipe the, you don't need to set anything here. Whatever resolve does here, it can be async, by the way, can be asynchronous. So whatever this resolve in this contributor resolves, it will return this. Then now if now I come to contrib, if now I come back to my controller, then I write here, let me just inject my logger at, I'll just say private read only, call this logger. So so this logger will be logger, so I'll import logger from Kickjs dot for what is this for, hello controller. Alright, then I just come here and say const contrib1 will just be contrib1, and you can see if I'm using now ctx.get, I'm able to get the type inferred directly from here. So if I just say logger.info, say contrib1, then come back and make the request again, you see we are getting success message. But if you come to our terminal, you'll see we have hello controller, and it's telling you this is the same thing we have here, telling you contrib1, and this is Alice. Alright, so let's try contrib2, if that will work too. Let's now go to contrib2, then we just log. So with this you can see it has a different definition, by the way. So it has the params, then it also has the dependencies. So in the dependencies here, this is more of where we define the dependencies. It's just an object which has the kind of things you need to be resolved from dependency container, which we are not doing at the moment. But you can see param defaults is defined for us here based on the types that we had set up initially. So let me just return say contrib2, right? So this will return just a string. Then now if we come to this side, we get contrib2, you'll see we are returning a string. And if I change this now to be contrib 2, then this one you can see now it's causing an error, so I can it should be contrib space 2. Then this is a string, but this is not a string, so we can just cast these two as const, then it should give you the correct inference. If you come here, you'll see we get it's either contrib2 or undefined. Alright, so how you can use these things is, let's say you need to have a pipeline where you need some resolution to be organized. This contrib2, I might pull it out, so let me say I want contrib2 to run globally. So if I want it to run globally, what I'll do is to come to the index here, then it has a section where you add contributors. So in these contributors, now you bring in your contrib, you bring contrib2, then you call dot registration. All right, so when you call this, then now if you come here, then let's say this is contrib2, contrib1, so this is contrib2, but this also should be 2. Right, so let's see if that works. Execute. You'll see we are still getting the same value. So we have hello controller index called contrib2, contrib2. So you might be wondering, maybe I changed something, that's why it's resolving. Let me change this to now 3, then 3, and change the type here to be 3. So if now I come back and make this request, I should be seeing 3 in the console. So you can see we have contrib3 here in the console. So why is this really important? This is the reason. So you might want to inject some things at runtime in the process of the context when now you are running your application and you need to inject something in the request context. So this is how now you can use these decorators to inject context. Okay, so the first approach is you can add this at the base, right? So one thing here you can say, if contrib2, because contrib2 has parameters, we need to control how things are happening. All right, so let's say we have a type payload 1, which will be maybe name string, then type payload 2, which has a region which is a number, and you can say type payload so payload, our payload will be payload 1 or payload 2. All right, so what I can say here is in the contrib2, what I'll have is to just say this will be our payload, but what we need to do here, if what I'll just say here is to take this and say if params dot let's say source is equals to API v1, return that, else return this one, otherwise return unknown and that other one. Okay, so we'll say if source is API, let's call this maybe S1, then this S2, then something else. All right, so how you can use this for a bit of control is to just say for now, if we execute this, still works, but we should get unknown. All right, so we have unknown here because we haven't passed any parameters. Okay, all right, so we haven't passed any parameters, that's why we are getting unknown in the console here. So how do we go about now influencing how this works? We come to our where we are mapping it. In this registration we just say with, so we call with, then now you pass your params, we say source 1, then you call dot registration on it. So this is now how you pass those parameters. So then now we come to execute the same endpoint. Now you'll see we have Bob and region 1, and that is based on whatever we are defined here. If it is S1, we should return Bob and the region that we are having. So this is how you can have control on whatever this context is giving you. Another thing here is let's say in this module we have a section where now you can now start also register contributors. So I'll just use this, then instead of registering it here, I can just extract this just the same way I did on this other end and plug it here. It's just missing the import, so once I'm done with that, should be able to work as it was working before, and we are still getting Bob and the region. So that is how context decorators are working. So there is let me generate another one, the third one, because now you understand how this works. So let me generate the third one, then the type will be bear, right? So I have contrib3, then I might need to do some execution. So let me just say here this is not returning anything, just tell us contrib3. all right, so we have contrib3 set up, it is just logging, nothing is in here, so we have contrib3 there. Then I can come to modules here, then I can just say contrib3 dot registration. Then if I execute this, you'll see I get contrib3 before this one. But for us to know which one ran first, it means we need to come to contrib2 and log. So say contrib2, okay? So this is contributor 2, execute, you'll see we have contributor 2 ran before contributor 1 is when now the controller was called. Alright, so this is the order. Let me just rerun it. So we have contrib 2 running before contrib 3, then we have the hello controller where now you're calling your controller. So the next bit here is what if now you want 3 to run before 2, okay? So all you do is to come here to contrib 2 and you declare depends on, you set up depends on here. This depends on flag will give you keys based on the contributors that you have defined, okay? So which one do you want to run before this? I want 3 to run before the second one. So execute this and you should be able to see contrib 3 ran before contrib 2, okay? So you might also say here I might want 2 and 1 to 2 and 1, no, 3 and 1 to run before 2, and if I execute this I should get an error because there is nowhere we have registered contrib 1. So to fix that, we'll just need to also have contrib 1. Let me just format this. Contrib 1 dot registration, format with prettier, okay? So this is the order in which they are appearing. So you have contrib 2, contrib 3 and contrib 1. So when you declare depends on dependency, now it means we have no error now, and now we have everything working, and we haven't logged anything here, so that's why we can't see anything. So we can just log contrib 1, right? So if now I run this, you should see we are running 3 before 1, but we can also say 1 depends on 3, so that 3 runs before 1. So execute, you should see we have 3 now running before 1 and then we run 2. So this is how now you can do the ordering in how you run these context decorators. So this means if now I needed a downstream, let's say let me just remove these ones. Okay, delete. How now you can use this? It's very simple. I'll just show you in a bit how you can utilize these ones. Just clear everything we are having here. Right. Okay, so what we do, I want us now to just generate, let's say we want a contributor that checks auth header, right? So we can say type will be just HTTP, then params we'll just say here mode string, alright? So do that, Then we add another one here known as check is authenticated. All right, check is authenticated. Then we have another one called check permission. All right, so we have three context decorators here. So what happens? Let me just take you through the whatever is running in my mind. So you might need to check auth header, then you need to is when now you check the if one is authenticated after the auth header has been resolved, then now afterwards, then now is when you can check the permission. So meaning we check the auth header, we check whether someone is authenticated, then now we check the permission. Just permission, not permission. Still the same thing. Check permission. Delete. Right? So we have the check auth header. This one has params. Whatever is returning here, so we have the check auth header. What it's returning here should be just be, let's say, true or token. Okay, so this token will just be a string. Let's make it an object. Token string. The token will be a string, and we have the params here. So the params, we might have mode type, maybe basic or bare. Okay, so because I need to narrow this down, if I say mode, this will override the other. So I'll just wrap this like this and add an extra and here an empty object so that we retain the tuple type above here. So default will be bearer, bearer. So then in the context we have the request. So this means we can extract the auth header directly from here. So we check if we can just say if params dot mode is equals to bearer, we check individually. If mode is equals to that, okay, if mode is either that is not either of the two, we throw an error known as check auth header with the mode which has been provided. Okay, so that means it will default to this other one. Then now we get the auth header. So in here, what I'll just say here, if it starts with the mode that, if it does not start with the mode that we are given, we just say unauthorized. Otherwise, we just split the params.mode.length plus 1. So that should give us the extra parts of the string that is remaining. Then we just return that token. Okay, so check this with this check auth header. What we can do is to just come here in our controller, then wrap this get, we wrap it with check auth header. Right, then so we won't pass anything, it will default to the one that we are having. So in here you can't call it, okay? So you can wrap it like this, right? But you can't say dot, the dot that we were having, or the params. That only works when you're registering at contributor level, not at this level. So we have this check auth header. Use it to wrap this one. So you can wrap a method, and also you can wrap a class itself. All right. So this tells you, giving us context decorator context. So now if I come back to this, you'll see we are getting internal server error. Why? Because let me just let's execute this. You see we are getting unauthorized. Okay, so this unauthorized, where is it coming from? It is coming from the check auth header decorator. So this is where it's coming from. Okay, because we have not provided any auth header. So if I come and decorate this, because I have Swagger already installed, map this and tell it at API bearer auth, wrap that so that Swagger can know this is a protected endpoint. Then I can just say test token, then authorize, close. Now if I try out, execute this, you will see we are getting hello world from Kickjs. Then everything has worked as expected, and now if now I need to get, if now I want to get the it is the check, what was the key, so it is check auth header. So whatever you are trying to extract should match whatever we have here. Okay, whatever this key is should match whatever the key we have in the context meta, and that's the same thing you need to use to get the details here. So you can see if now I get the token here, then I can access the token directly from here. So if now I execute this again, you'll see I am getting the token down here. So that tells you that this check auth header is drilling down these details. All right. So because this check auth header, I might not want it to be called everywhere, then I may just extract it. Okay, because now I want to push something else here. I'll push it here to the contributors. Now it won't be a decorator, so I'll want it to be here. Then dot width, I can say, so mode will be bearer, so that we extract from the bearer, then call dot registration. Okay, format width prettier. All right, if now I call this, it should protect all the endpoints we have in here. All right, but because we want to use this token, now this is now where we need the ordering. Okay, so now I come to, I've checked the header, but I don't want to throw an error. Sometimes you don't need this to throw an error, so I'll throw error in the next one. Okay, so if auth header is not available, then we can just return or undefined. Okay, So instead of throwing an error, we just return undefined. Okay, we don't throw an error. But another way, instead of having that, we can just silence this by saying here optional. We mark this as true. When you set it as optional, then if now I clear this, log out, close, execute this, you will see we are getting undefined on the token, but it has not errored out. All right. So then we also have some options here where we have the on error, where you get the context and the params that you are having. So I can just log here the error. So we have the error there. Then now if I execute this, you will see it's not calling that error. So if I remove the optional section here, then execute this again, now you'll see we are getting we can be able to see the error. So what happens here is, if you set this optional, it doesn't trigger the on error, and that means if it doesn't trigger this, then it won't propagate. So it's just handling execution to the next context to be executed in line. So you can use this to leverage usage of maybe avoid throwing an error somewhere, but it doesn't matter, it's your choice on how you can use it. But for this, I'll mark it as true so that I'll throw error in the next section. So this won't be needed here. Okay, so we have that. Then now if this is now optional, then if I now check is authenticated, this now will depends on check auth header. Then what I'll do, I can just I can use now the auth info here. Now you can see it's type safe, so whatever we're getting from the context, this should be the token. If we have no token, then it means we have nothing. Otherwise, we'll just say this should return a boolean, or we can just say is authentic and okay, let's have it just as boolean. So this one should this one now checks if we have the auth header. Yes, if you have the info, all right, proceed. So we return true, so we can have this now in our controller here. All right, then we can get, instead of check auth header, we can get check is authenticated. So now if I get is it this one? Yeah. So if now you see I'm getting is authenticated from check is authenticated, this should tell me whether I am authenticated. All right. So remember, the module registers this and we're getting it via bearer, and our controller, the controller decorator we have put here, let me just call that so that it looks like the other ones. Just make sure that this one depends on the one registered here, the check auth header, so that when you decorate this, it calls the other one. Then now we can check our is authenticated. But we marked check auth header as optional, so it won't throw any error. Then now we can just say here, execute this. Back to our terminal, should be able to see we are not authenticated. Just execute, request that again. You can see is authenticated is false because we are unable to resolve the token from the other end. If now I authorize this, say test token authorize, close, execute, I should now be able to see I am authenticated. Okay. Then now you find now that I may need to, these two can be moved down so that I just check permission here. Okay, so let me add something here so that you get to see what happens here. So let's say for instance I'll just create a simple adapter here, Kickj adapter test adapter. So I have this test adapter, then for this adapter what I'll just need to do is to create something, const export type something good, which will be that. Then I'll just have here const something good token. So I'll use this for injection, which will be create token. So create token from Kickjs. Then in here I'll just have it as app something good. Okay, app something good. So Kickjs has these lifecycle hooks. So before mount I want it to const something good is this, so id, then call it something good. Okay, so what I want this to do is to register ctx dot container. Okay, let me just get the container directly, container, mark it as c, then I'll just say c dot register. I'll register instance with something good as something good. So reason why I'm using this token, so I want to have this token as a dependency. So then I'll just mount this test adapter in our index. So we have adapters, test adapter, call it. So it is mounted, then it has the token, that token injected. So then what I can say here is to have, now our check is authenticated here, now to have a dependency here as deps. Okay, so we call this sm, so that will map something good. Test adapter, export. What do you have that? Export. So I can import these, something good, okay? Format document, then I have SM, okay? So what happens here is we have resolve, then you have the depths, then now from here we can have the SM, okay? So you can see it's inferring something good. So then I can just call this SM before log, we can just log here resolved SM, which will be SM, right? So hopefully this resolves. So we have our DI container, then we execute, no error, and you can see it's able to resolve SM from the dependency container. So this is how now you can be able to utilize these context decorators to extract dependencies from the DI container, map them so that they follow each other in order of execution, and where to register them in case you need to register any of them. So the amount of use cases you can have in this is enormous, and I hope you get a proper understanding of how Kickjs decorators, context decorators work in general. For more information, you can go to the Kickjs forinda.github.io/kick-js to learn more about Kickjs. So that is all I had for you today. I hope you've learned something. Here we have some details here. What I have not shown here, let me just, as I finalize, is if you have this kind of service, okay, this hello service, which is just saying hello from Kickjs. So let's say, because services don't have access to this CTX and we don't want to drill down this is authenticated, what we can do here is to just extract this, bring it to the service section, and you can see we have errors here. Get these, get to the service. So we have logger, import logger, and now you can see we have no context. Okay, so how do you get this value out of the current request? So you use this get request value. This should give you the same inference that we were having. So this is how you are able to get access to this value outside but inside. Okay, so if you can't use it inside the controller and you need that value somewhere inside, then you can use the get request value inside inside that service that you want to use, and you can see it's inferring the value we had on the other side. Test this if it's still working. Should be working okay, and we still have the same result, and you can see we have something good and is authenticated down here. So I hope you've learned a thing or two and how to use these context decorators. And if you have any questions, just leave your comments in the comment section below, and see you in the next one.